Hey, this is Dani. So here's the thing. The last video I did was weeks ago and it was about stuckness. And I'm not sure if I made up that word or if it's an actual word, but you know what I mean by stuckness. Just feeling stuck, feeling like you don't have positive momentum to take you in a certain direction. Maybe I didn't know which direction to go into. I felt overwhelmed and underwhelmed kind of at the same time. Just weird stuff, right? Stuckness. We know it's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good. I was able to go into the body and actually feel my stuckness, right? And I went through that in the last video. I recorded another video the next day to talk about how I was feeling then, how I might have changed my perspective a little bit, and I was doing a little bit differently. And so I'm going to include that video here, but I didn't want to just let all those weeks go by and not say anything in between. So this is a little intro. Now I'm going to post the video that I did that next day and let you know how that went. That's only going to take a few minutes. And then at the end, I'm going to bring you full circle through those next few weeks and what has been happening so that you can get a good idea. I'm going to go back to a more simplified way of not necessarily looking for the direct results of I need to apply for this job, or I'm going to do this independent work, or I'm going to whatever. Not having a strategy for that at the moment because I'm not clearly guided in that direction right now. So I'm going to open myself up to feeling the gratitude and the joy. Again, if stuckness comes up, I'm not going to push it away. I'm just going to allow myself to feel it. Once I feel it though, it didn't perpetuate itself as it often does with thoughts. It actually went away. That feeling went away by doing what I did yesterday. So it's still kind of there. There's a little bit of remnants there. I can see it, but it is not my predominant thought process or kind of where I am, like energetically, I'm not still there. So now that I have a little bit more clear-headedness, I only need clarity for right now. And I will trust that when I ask and am given, I feel like divine guidance for now, that it will eventually lead me to exactly where I want and need to be. And I don't have to figure it all out right now in this moment, because doing so is putting undue pressure. Because if guidance isn't there and I'm saying, but I want an answer, you know, guidance comes in the moment. Guidance doesn't come when we demand it or whatever. It's when it's right. When it's right, we'll know. When it's right, we will have this urge to do something where you couldn't even stop me if you wanted to, because the pull is strong, right? So just like with YouTube, taking my mind off of what results do I think it can get me and going back to what is the joy of creation in the first place. And that is the joy that will be the magnet. If it is going to have an audience, it will have it because of this joy and because of this pure place of creation. It won't have it because of some calculation of this is what I need to do or whatever. If I focus on the short term and what's bringing me joy now, if I focus on that happiness now, then the clarity in the moment will come, and having faith that that clarity will extend day by day by day as it needs to and get me where I need to go, because I also have that intention and that clear knowing that I do want that employment and that financial security within the next couple of months. So that is guiding my actions, but I'm not going to rush into it specifically for that goal. I'm going to kind of wait for guidance. So that's a little bit about where I'm at, and I'm so happy to be here, and thanks for sticking around for part 2, and we'll see. The saga continues day to day, right? Okay, so now for the rest of the story. That little blip was filmed right after the first video, and so I had 1 day's worth of perspective, and as you could tell, I was basically feeling like, you know, if I don't have a clear direction right now overall, then I'm going to try to bring in some gratitude, try to feel some joy in the moment. But basically my strategy was to stay in the moment, not take away the feeling of trying to figure everything out right now. Because wherever you are in your life, you don't have to have everything figured out right now. And so if there's pressure for that, then just take that pressure off and then see what develops, and just take baby steps. One of the best things that I feel like, there's just a couple of best practices around whenever negative things come up. And that is, number one, to be willing to feel it and not push it aside. And number two, to go back to the present moment, because most of the time, these problems that we're having with this overwhelm and this stuckness and this indecision and all of that is simply, this too shall pass. Clarity will come again. It's all working out. Just allow yourself to feel the stuckness. And it's so funny that, in order to move through something, you have to accept it and feel it first. But then when you do, you find that you automatically move to the other side of it. So it wasn't that complete stuckness was gone during a day. What happened, what shifted in that one day, was that I stopped judging it. And I stopped making it wrong. And I was willing to feel it so that it could kind of step away. But it doesn't change the fact that I am in a big transitional period in my life right now. And I will be for the next year or 2 years as I transition to having my kids be out of high school. They're college age now, and their needs are different. Their needs for me are different. My whole home situation and everything is changing. My job situation right now is all in flux. So it's a big transitional time. Eliminating stuckness, that feeling of stuckness, it wasn't that it went away. It's a bigger acknowledgement that this is going on. But eliminating that, because when you're feeling that and you feel so trapped and almost helpless and hopeless a little bit, right, is in there because you're just not sure what to do. It is all encompassing. So once I allowed myself to feel it and it wasn't so all encompassing, I can see it for what it is, which is just, look, you don't have clear guidance right now because it's not time for you to know. So take it one day at a time. Gratitude always helps. I don't know if you have a gratitude practice. I don't like to always have to try to feel like I have to meditate every day. I have to have my gratitude practice every day. I have to practice my visualizations every day. I need to do this. I need to, like, before long you get I got to exercise. Before long you have a list and it's overwhelming all on its own. But especially when times are hard, if we can bring up gratitude in whatever way works for you, just to have that gratitude, especially if there's any times we're feeling sorry for ourselves or feeling a little powerless or hopeless or any negativity, really, gratitude always helps. So being in the moment and feeling some gratitude, amazing place to start for every single day, including when you feel stuck or when you are having anything negative come up, or whether you're not, right? It's always a good thing. So that's what I decided I would do. Now, the overall landscape in my whole life is still changing during this time. And even as I speak to you, it's changing during this time. But the unease and everything that I felt while I was at Hungry Horse in that amazingly great location, probably the best boondocking. It's probably my favorite boondocking spot I have ever been in. And yet there were moments during that time when I felt like I was just coming out of my skin with, what am I going to do with my life? Kind of thing, and nothing's going like I thought it would. All of that, it's just all pressure that's self-imposed, right? So I left Hungry Horse a few days later. I went back to Missoula. So my friend Deb is in Missoula. She is so wonderful and kind and loving, and she opened up her home and her family and her love and her support and all of that to me as a dear friend. And I spent a week or so there, another one, because I had been there before I went to Hungry Horse, and then went to Hungry Horse, went back to Missoula. I'm not even sure how long I stayed this time. I thought about staying indefinitely, but I just had this urge. My next guidance really was, I wanted to get home to Kansas City, and I wanted to start some routine. I wanted to go to bed in the same place, wake up in the same place. I wanted to go for a walk at my local park. Like, I knew where I could go for a walk. And even if it's going around in circles because I'm at a park and on this little track, at least I knew I could get up and do it every morning. And I knew I could have Wi-Fi every day to look for a job. And I knew I would feel better about myself if I was doing those two things. So I get home to Kansas City a couple weeks after Crazy Horse, a few weeks after Hungry Horse Reservoir. Anyway, that is a great location. If you haven't seen my video on that, go to the other channel and watch that video on the best camping spot. Anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked. Most of you who watch this channel watch that one too. But anyway, awesome place. So 2 or 3 weeks after, I don't even know how long, I'm in a time warp right now. I got home to Kansas City, and what often happens, here's another thing. It takes time to transition to being on and off the road. Now, that's not, as soon as I said that, I was like, not quite. It doesn't take me much time to transition being on the road. I love being on the road. And I take to it kind of like a fish to water. But when I come home, there's this, usually it's kind of depression. Usually it's this feeling of, oh, I'm going to be trapped in Kansas City. But I came back wanting to be here. I came back thinking, I really want to be home again. And I want to start some routines, and I want to get myself grounded in the earth. I want to get myself grounded in routine and in safety and security. The safety and security I do have when so many things are up in the air. I do have the safety and security of the love of my kids and just my home and my surroundings, my neighborhood and community, all of that. So, and friends, I mean, everything that I have here. So I came home to Kansas City, but there is always this transitional period when I get home of being in motion on the road. Not only in motion physically, but I feel like emotionally, even with getting things done. Like I'm in a mode where I get stuff done where I'm on the road, whether it's a 6-hour or 7-hour drive during a day or doing videos or whatever. I have this momentum of doing and going and being and doing and creating, especially YouTube videos and stuff. Once I get home, a lot of times, I would say every time I've done it, I come home and all of that stops. And I feel like all that momentum comes to a halt. And I can get stuck there. There comes stuckness again, right? I didn't call it stuckness, but I felt a lot of that wobbliness. I felt a lot of that kind of resignation, kind of a little bit being trapped, just a little bit, when I came home. But I worked through it just day by day. I was like, okay, one thing at a time, one step in front of the other. This is how I get when I come home. I know this. I even went to visit my family in Illinois. My sister has a swimming pool. I thought, oh, it'd be nice to I was missing Hungry Horse and the fact that I was sitting in the float, and swimming in that little inlet there most days in that gorgeous clear water, and just being in the sun and being in the shade, all of that. And I thought, my sister has a pool. It'll be nice to see my mother and my sister and everybody. So I went home for a few days, came back, and I felt like slowly I have brought myself to the place where now I'm walking in the morning, and it's just a few thousand steps, 30 minutes or so, but that's like what I'm capable of these days. I've gotten so kind of out of shape. That's a good thing for me, is to be able to do 30 minutes. There's been no other time in my life where walking for 30 minutes on a flat paved surface was hard for me like it is kind of now. It's not like it's hard, but it wears me out. And after those 30 minutes, I am tired. So that's just where I am now. I'm not having a judgment of it. Well, maybe I'm a little, but not too much. So that's just where I am now. But I'm getting up in the mornings. I'm walking. I just started making videos again. I'm getting into that groove. And maybe even more importantly, for the past few weeks, I have been sending resumes, and I've been sending them consistently, and I have been working on it, and I feel really good about those things. So my main challenge is still, I need a regular income, and I need it in the next couple months. Great. I'm working on that every single day in one way or another, and I feel good about that, and we're making progress. And that's where I am now. I am home. I am making videos again. I am still looking for a job. I'd like to have a remote job, but the challenge with a remote job is this. If I apply for a job in Kansas City, I compete with other people who are in Kansas City. If I apply for a remote job, I am competing with people from everywhere. So, like, I can apply for a job in Kansas City and there might be 100 or 200 applicants. If I'm applying, some of these marketing jobs that I have applied for that are remote, there have been several hundred applicants. So, and I have even applied for, like, I applied for a job at Target and they did not hire me. I think probably because they know it would only be temporary. Maybe I wouldn't be with them long enough. They just know, like, I have a decent resume, believe it or not. And so maybe they, you know, they just don't think I would stick around. I don't know. They didn't tell me why they didn't hire me. They just didn't. So it's like everyone has this attitude of, oh, there's so many jobs out there. Oh, if you want to work, you can work. Well, true and not true. But anyway, I'm not to the point. I'm okay with, if it gets to a certain point, I will take whatever job is available right now so that I can get to the next step, right? Like, at a certain point, I will have to have income. Right now, it's uncomfortable, and I'd rather not have an income right now, but it's not mission critical yet. So I'm not to that point. So I'm still sending out resumes for jobs I want. Anyway, that is a complete update. That is a complete update. I don't know how it gets more than that. And so if you made it to the end of this video, please let me know in the comments. If you did, I'm amazed, for one thing. Because this has been a long one. But it's taken these weeks. I'm catching up on whole weeks here of what's been going on. So hopefully that's useful to someone. And thank you for being here. Special thanks to my patrons on Patreon. I'll put that link in the description in case you want to join. But anyway, thank you so much. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.